accept 60,000 naira minimum wage proposal, a former Director General of the National Broadcast Commission, NBC, Danladi Bako, and the CEO of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, Muda Yusuf, will be joining us for discussion. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mojid Jamiu. Journalist Hangout starts now. Now, they threatened to shut down the economy over lack of consensus regarding the new minimum wage negotiations and the reversal of electricity tariff, and they are at it. Now, despite pleas from the federal government for reconsideration, members of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria finally embarked on an industrial action. In solidarity, workers from various sectors resumed their services, disrupted operations at the airport, blocked entry to the seaport in Lagos, and shut down the national grid, leading to nationwide blackout. But Nigerians are outraged, lamenting that the ongoing strike spells more woes for the struggling economy. As such, stakeholders are appealing to the labor unions to be considerate in their demand for 494,000 naira as minimum wage and accept the 60,000 naira proposed by the federal government and organized private sector. Well, let's share some updates with you.
Despite the intervention of the National Assembly leadership, the organized labor begins a nationwide strike. The industrial action starts in Abuja. Petrol stations are still selling fuel. Other parts are ghost town. Lawyers are stranded as judiciary workers shut down the Court of Appeal in Abuja.
We, at this chapter, we are not take anything less. We have to comply fully with what is going on.
Staff at the National Assembly were also left stranded as they were denied access to the complex.
Well, if you look at the country generally, everything is on the high side. Most especially the common man. We are not saying federal government must pay, but they should do something reasonably that we can consider.
In Lagos, all operations at the local airport have been cancelled. These are images from the Murtala Mohammed International Airport.
So I have been here since 5:30 a.m. I was supposed to board United Nigeria. Unfortunately, the airports have been grounded by NLC. Obviously, the strike has commenced here at the airports.
In Delta, there is strict compliance to the strike in Asaba, the state capital, as the Unity Secondary School is under lock and key. Students who are supposed to begin their external examination are now returning to their homes as no teacher is in the premises. Report also suggests that labor union has shut down the national grid, resulting in nationwide blackout. The Transmission Company of Nigeria in a statement said the national grid was shut down at about 2:19 a.m.
We had light issue in this house for a little while, and just after that was rectified, they brought the lights yesterday. I was still thinking that all these things would be preserved, and then after bringing the light just yesterday was 2nd of June.
BKO, you know, this story about the labor union going on strike, no one saw this coming, the point at which we are right now, up to the point that the national grid was shut down by the labor unions. And of course, we've just seen this report by our correspondent that external examinations has been halted. But what do you make of the development so far?
We start with national grid that the labor union decided to
Shut down.
We are a nation governed by laws. I don't think it makes sense to contravene our laws just because you're asking for more pay from government. labor to get more pay at this time, in line with the inflationary trend, it makes great sense to increase workers' salaries. Both of my parents served this nation as public servants, and they were, in my view, not paid salaries that reflected the sacrifices that they made at that time. So I won't sit here as the son of a teacher who worked
All right.
at state level.
Vika, I've been asked to hold your thoughts for now because I think there's a little bit of challenge over your technicalities of the audio. But let me quickly come to you, Mojeed. Let me quickly come to you on this matter because we understand that this matter really, needs a decisive action because this is not the first time Labour Union has been going in negotiations with the federal government, asking for a national minimum wage. Do you think perhaps the government didn't handle this properly? What are your thoughts?
The presidency, because of the importance they attach to this, set up a 37-member committee of the FG, headed by the vice president. And that is on one part. Then we have two others, the organized private sector and the labor union. So it's like a tripartite committee. And they have been going back and forth. Organized private sector, they are the employers here, apart from federal government. The NLC and TVC and the others are workers, the employees. So the employers, those who know, that who have the capacity to determine that this is how much I can pay, the two of them, out of the three in the tripartite, agreed that yes, 60,000. For me, I feel that 60,000 might still be low. Federal government can still go higher, but not anywhere near 494 or 97,000. No. You can't shut down critical state infrastructure like the national grid, the airports, hospitals, and say you are going on strike.
Let's not forget that this has been an ongoing negotiation.
Yes, that's why I gave that background. That they have been going back and forth. Yes, Labour gave May 31 deadline, but cutting off the head is not the solution to the headache you are having, no matter how big your head is. This one, what you have done now, shutting down the national grid, we are on zero transmission now since 2 a.m. all over the country. No light. It's like holding a nation to ransom. Now if you have a medical emergency, you need to fly abroad, or you need to take a consignment that the international airport has been shut down, local airport shut down. So there are some hospitals too. Those who need medicals, they can't access medicals. So I believe they should put some humanity into some of these things. Now, the irony of it is that the government you think you are punishing by shutting down the national grid, some of them can afford to buy generators, they afford to buy generators and the fuel, either diesel or petrol, to fuel their generators at state cost in their cozy offices and homes and quarters. It is we who will have to suffer, the consequences. So I think Labour should depoliticize this thing, of course, while also urging the federal government to probably move up a bit. And if they say 60,000 is small, but then in reality, apart from journalism, I have a side also. I run a supermarket.
Right.
Who can tell me to come and pay 450,000 to the least paid worker in my employ.
All right, let me hold
it's
your
not
thoughts.
possible.
Yeah, let me hold your thoughts on this for now. We need to go on a very quick break. We'll have more discussions on this very issue when we return. Do stay with us.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teachers.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices were echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all their demands, a familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Committee Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
You're watching Beyond 100 Days with Nifemi Oguntoye. President Tinubu, since he assumed office,
we are on our way to progress.
6 out of the 8 APC federal lawmakers
have a movement structure that's going to take back our party in Enugu State. Because this one I'm seeing is tales by moonlight. It's not working.
So I'm wondering what you think, or who you think can stop him now.
He doesn't own the party.
One of the causes of inflation is because people cannot go to the farm.
The government still needs to do more so that people can eat.
I believe what we're clamoring for is more responsible use of social media. Not that people just go in there and think that they can say anything to anybody.
Tinubu is not one who believes in the simple. I mean, he wants to get it done. He will face it. He will get it done.
Yes, the president, from inception of his administration, focused squarely on diversifying the economy and driving in investments to, cushion the effect of everything that we've seen, ranging from COVID-19 to the global commodity shocks, global financial crisis, and all of that.
I was privileged to have worked under a governor who believed in the system, who also built up the system, and I'm going to do same.
All right, that's our show today, everyone. Thanks for being a part of it.
TVC News, first with breaking news.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the financial world,
breaking down intricate economic and financial matters.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of cryptocurrencies.
We unveil and analyze complex policies of the CBN and other government parastatals as they affect your everyday life, keeping you a step ahead every time.
Okay. This is incredible. Facts matter. Our team dives deep to separate facts from popular opinion.
We simplify complex government policies as it impacts your everyday life, helping you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape.
Watch Business Nigeria every weekday at 2 p.m. only on TVC News. First with breaking news.
Good morning, Marina Station and all the passengers. Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing congestion and emission.
The trains are long-term solution to Lagos traffic challenges.
This is where we take the final, decisions on policies, programs of government. I will have to ensure that, the narration of Lagos as a PLC is taken very, very seriously.
This is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyingo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call a permanent solution.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout, and we're looking at the industrial action by Labour Congress over the new national minimum wage. BKO, let's have your perspective on this issue, even as there are mixed reactions over Labour's decision to shut down the national grid and, of course, other areas that were closed down due to its demands.
I mean, it's rascality taken too far by going to shut down the national grid. We can't turn our country to a nation that is not governed by laws. We cannot say we want to be like the great countries of the world, and we are refusing to do what they do. In South Africa, people on essential services are precluded from any form of strike. But what they put in place is a system that allows for speedy arbitration when there are disputes with such categories of workers. It is an internationally recognized convention that strikes are not going to involve people in essential services. When we talk about people in essential services, they include CBN, for example, people providing electricity, even a security printing company, security printing and minting company that prints our Naira notes. It is inconceivable, for example, for the police to go on strike. It's not permitted. Or for the army to go on strike. Because we know the implication of such people going on strike. There will be a total breakdown of law and order.
Yeah.
During the IBB era, when some people switched off the grid, they were jailed. Is it that our governments are no longer capable of enforcing our laws? I was speaking with an individual, Nigerians, when you're arguing with them, Suddenly they will start giving examples of countries of the world and talking about things that they know little about. And somebody say, the way we treat workers here, nobody treats workers like that in other countries, in the Arab countries. Can any worker, whether you are a member of a union in Al-Sisi's Egypt, go and switch off the grid? Al-Sisi, the president of Egypt, one of the most powerful presidents in Africa currently, that transmuted from a civilian, a military ruler to a civilian. Can you go and switch off the grid in this country? We know that the law is against it. Let me read section 31, subsection 6 of the Trade Union Act as amended. No person, trade union or employer shall take part in a strike or lockout or engage in any conduct in contemplation of any furtherance of trade disputes unless the person is not engaged in the provision of essential services. The law is clear. It's double-sided irresponsibility, double-sided rascality to go and switch off the grid. Because some people did it the other day, they got away with it. Now they're going to do it again. You want to shut down the seaports, stop people from flying. All of these have serious ramifications. We cannot pretend not to know that there are limits to these things.
So what then is a right avenue for them to channel their grievances if all this are not, well, what the law says, they shouldn't go through this route?
They know that they are being rascally. You cannot go and stop people involved in essential services from working. You can't. You can't. Have you not had strikes in this country? Did Oshomole not take NSC to a strike? Not even once. During Obasanjo's era. Did they shut down the grid? Are you going to say Oshomole is not stubborn enough? Did they shut down the grid?
Or even Ayuba Waba. Under Ayuba Waba.
We've had strikes.
Haba.
There are limits to these things.
Pascal Bafiao.
Because we want more. We are not saying that they should not increase workers' salary. My feeling is that if political appointees earn as much as they earn, workers do need to earn a living wage. I've always asked for it. There is record.
So you're not
always asked for it.
So you're not opposed to the strike. It's just the method. It's just the method.
Why should I be opposed to the strike?
Right.
I've said my own parents who serve this nation. You are public servants. It will be irresponsible for me to sit here and say, no, don't give workers their due. Don't give workers better welfare. No. I've always demanded for it. But there are limits. If the law says this category of workers cannot go on strike, so be it. A day will come when policemen will say they are going on strike because we allow electricity workers to go and shut down the grid, and it's against the law. Maybe I just read it now. Oh, so have we now become a country where the law no longer takes preeminence, where people can do what they like? Because we want to collect 494,000? Who will pay 494,000? Who? If Ajo becomes president of Nigeria, can he pay 494,000? Can he pay 494,000? Can he even pay 200,000? Because you can't pay this kind of money under the present situation that we find ourselves as a country. How much are we earning? We deceive ourselves that we are such a rich nation. What is the size of your budget? Some African countries have budgets bigger than Nigeria's budget. What are we talking about? Who can pay 200,000? We keep saying, oh, federal government, let federal government agree. If federal government agrees and the states don't pay, and it's supposed to be law. What I want to see is a situation in which we pay what is affordable and we pay what is sustainable. That's what I want to see. Some of these governors have not even paid 30,000. I was talking the other day about the governor of Abia. When workers,
Labour Party,
this same NLCO,
Labour Party,
they were begging to leave his party alone.
But it's Labour Party. We have to say it.
God.
Go ahead.
You talk as if Labour Party is different from other parties.
No.
How are they different? Are they not elements that led PDP just to use it as a kind of a vehicle?
It's almost
are they not products of the same political system? Leave Labour Party. We are saying that, I am saying that Labour Party, Labour Union, they went and they were begging Oti to pay 30 naira minimum wage.
30,000.
30,000 minimum wage. It's on record that they were begging him, please pay 30,000 minimum wage. Somebody has not paid 30,000 minimum wage. You know, you are not blind to that reality. You are talking about 494. This is a tripartite thing. It's not the federal government alone. Even if the federal government has the capacity, do the states have the capacity? What are the implications of moving a minimum wage in our country to something in the realm of 150? What are the implications? Can we pay? Or we just announce we can pay? Then after a while, people stop paying. When they stop paying, they've contravened the law. The law says that should be the minimum. Because when they finish all of this debate, they will take the bill to the National Assembly and it's supposed to become law. When it becomes law, everybody should be able, everybody should pay, everybody should comply. But if we create a situation in which people can't pay, states can't pay, then how will the law not be contravened? That is the point that we are making. Some states are yet to pay 30,000. Some states are still paying 18,000 minimum wage in this country.
Way back.
In this country. And I've given an example. If anybody thinks I'm lying, let them Google it. NLC went to beg Governor Oti, please pay 30,000 minimum wage. It's even very recent that it happened. So if somebody cannot pay 30,000, they are begging him to pay 30,000 minimum wage. You are now talking about 494,000. That amounts to whining us. 494. I mean, are we joking or what?
So what would you prefer as reasonable living wage?
Reasonable. You see, reasonable must also be affordable and must also be sustainable. I will not support something that is not sustainable. We abuse governors who are not paying, but you must not put them in a situation in which they can pay. Reasonable to me is something a little higher than 100,000. And even that will come at a great cost. Now, anytime we are thinking of rationalizing the workforce, labor will be up in arms. Anytime you want to privatize some sector of the economy that are still firmly in government, labor will be up in arms. If the government says, okay, we will be able to pay 150, but a sizable portion of the workforce will go. Will Ajero and Co. not take up arms again? Will Osifo and Co. not be running from pillar to post again? Because I don't see how you can pay this kind of money without some consequences. You can't even pay half. I don't see you paying half of this without serious consequences. Some people will have to go. All of those ministries where we are accommodating dead woods, 10 drivers to 3 vehicles, some of them will have to go. Will Labour agree to that? Labour must be ready. How do you, everybody knows that minimum wage talks take time. And this NSC under Ajero, we already set a deadline that if they don't, the talks they don't complete the talks, that you go on strike. Why are you so crazy about strikes? Why do you want to go on strike? Even the last minimum wage that President Buhari, it took a very long time. Now you are trying to stampede everybody to agree to a minimum. This thing takes time. Check the time that it took Buhari before Buhari resolved the issue of minimum wage at 30,000 that Governor Oti and others still can't pay. Huh? Check the time that it took them to arrive at that. It's not easy. The negotiation will be tortuous. It will take time. But to say, oh, if we do not agree on minimum wage by May 31st, then you are going on strike. How do you run a labor union like that? That at every opportunity you want to use your strongest weapon. What kind of strategy is that? We have to tell ourselves the truth. Yes, things are bad in our country. People are starving, but there are many things that labor can push the government to do beyond even increasing salaries, which will make the generality of our people to feel that yes, life is getting better for them. Life getting better for workers is not simply through salary increase alone. Inflation can wipe out the salary increase that has happened within a twinkle of an eye. So they should be
focused.
They should be inventive in the way they think and say, okay, what can government do? Let's demand that government does this so that things will be easy for our people. It's not be by salary increase alone. Not be by salary increase alone. Salary increase to benefit how many people? What is the percentage of workers? Out of 200 million Nigerians, workers are probably about 5 million maximum.
All right, let's quickly bring in our guest who is joining us from Abuja. Let's quickly bring in former Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission and the CEO of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Muda Yusufa. First of all, let's have Dan Ladi back. We're good to have you on the program this evening. So we're looking at the industrial action taken by the NLC over the new national minimum wage. Give us a bit of a historical background of this impasse between the both parties, and where do you see this leading to?
Well, good evening. Good evening, Nigerians, and good evening, BKO and the rest of the colleagues in the studio, my colleagues in the studio. I want to align with the thoughts of so many people who believe that much as you want to strike, strike is a last resort on any issue, on any labor matters. We've been at this for quite some time, and I do know that efforts have been made to create an organic solution that treats everybody, not the 1.2 million Nigerians that are workers. Out of the 200 million Nigerians estimated, about only 1.2 are workers, federal, local government, state government, corporate bodies, etc. So if you're talking about minimum wage, you're talking about just dealing with those workers. Now, the organized private sector that have lots of other people that are not in government work and cannot afford even 100,000. At the last meeting that they had with the tripartite meeting, I am aware that even organized private sector could not even yield beyond 60,000 because at that level, the messengers, the cleaners, the younger people, the lower people, the very least paid workers would not be able to, they're not going to be able to be given 494,000 according to labor. So there has to be a rethink. I think that labor has been a little, I think from where we're coming from, they had seen an Ayuba Waba regime that was a little bit lackluster and mild. So they're trying to restore that energy of labor in the past where everything was strike first, strike first, strike first. So they want to make a name. They saw an Adam Soshomole become an NLC president, from there to government house. So I think at the back of some people's minds, they think that one of the best ways to make a name and to fight in, you know, whatever, is to put everybody on edge. Right now, as we speak, the country has almost come to a standstill. Nobody is benefiting. Because eventually, I can assure you, almost assuredly, 100%, that the government is not likely to be able to pay 494,000, and labor will have to look for a way to come down on that price, that rate, that figure, and the government will have to look for a way to yield further. But most importantly, you're going to have to create a system, an environment, an ecosystem that provides for better roads, cheaper healthcare, food for the people, cheaper foodstuffs, good transportation, good education. And I think to a large extent, part of the government program has been about 20 to 50% of that idea. Whether the CNG buses that will reduce transportation is going to make that kind of effect is another matter. But there's a plan on ground to be able to give you cheaper transport. I think Labour needed to wait a little longer, give themselves one more month, maybe till the end of July, and see whether government will fulfill its promise.
Yeah, well said, but let me quickly ask you this, because, you know, there are concerns that the national grid being shut down by Labour Union is really rascally, according to BKO right here in the studio. But what are your thoughts on this, and what do you think should have been the best approach on the part of Labour, if at all they are insisting on a new national minimum wage?
First of all, I saw the breakdown of what they had listed. They tried to talk about food per person per meal, 300 naira per meal for three meals in a day times 5 number of people in a family. They did all those calculations. Now, those calculations are all right by their own standards, but I worked on those calculations and I cut them down on my own based on what I know and the people that I feed and the people that are under me, and I came down, I could reduce that 494, personally calculate them, and come down to 150. Conveniently, because the rates they gave the schools, the healthcare, there's so many things that they rated. Housing, for God's sake, some people that live in, do you know where Takatuku in Bodinga is in Sokoto State? Do you know where Chimola is? Do you know where some parts of Focados or even Tai Eleme? The costing of accommodation is not uniform all over the country. So you're not talking about, you know, uniform, those high figures they put there in housing, healthcare. No. I think they're unrealistic. I think right. BKO knows that once upon a time, Labour was giving money, or they were giving grants to buy buses, to run their own bus service. All those buses have disappeared. My first question, where are those buses? Are you saying that Labour did not have a capacity administratively to even run the buses they were running those 5-10 years ago? Right. That tells you how difficult administration can be. So they needed to have gone to a fine approach. I would have thought that they should come down, ask for a lower price. I don't think that realistically any government can pay more than 100,000, realistically.
Okay. Let me quickly bring in our next guest, the CEO of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises, Muda Yusuf. Good to have you on the program this evening. So now we understand that the government has warned that a higher minimum wage could lead to more job losses. Well, first off, how valid are these concerns, and how do you think this can be mitigated, and what do you think could have been the right way to approach this?
Mr. Danladi Baku. Well, I think we need to situate this in appropriate context. Because in this kind of negotiation, we need to be very realistic. Yes, there is a major risk of job losses. There is no doubt about that. If we impose an unrealistic wage on the employers, I mean, they don't have any other option than to lay off workers. And I don't think that is a good option, a good alternative that Labour will also welcome, just as BKO said. But in all of this, the issue of affordability is key. You can't give what you don't have. Whether it's a living wage, whether it's not a living wage, whether you can cope with your basic services, you can't give what you don't have. We have some states, as we speak today, even before all this conversation around minimum wage, about 80% of their resources are spent on payment of salaries. What happens to the rest of the citizens? What happens to infrastructure? What happens to the provision of education, health services, roads, supporting agriculture, and so many other things? This economy or this country is not only about workers who are on the payroll.
Yeah.
And just as we have been told, we are talking about just maybe 5% or even less.
Yeah.
So,
all right, he seems to have a little bit of connectivity issues with Muda Yusuf.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have your thoughts of Mr. Danladi Bako on this matter, because I know definitely from what he's given us so far, that's from Muda Yusuf, this might be unrealistic on the part of the government and of course the private sector if we're to talk about the minimum wage being paid at 494,000 naira. But let's look at the incentives, the non-monetary incentives that the government is promising labor to also provide, given its demands. Do you think perhaps the government can be trusted? Because that is the case here, that labor insists to say that we need these monies because we're not sure that most of these incentives will be provided for instance, the CNG buses and every other thing that comes with it. What are your thoughts?
I do agree, Esther. The bottom line remains that a large part of the population of Nigeria are not in the cities, they are not in government work. Where they occur in organized private sector, Dr. Muda Yusuf has told you, it's going to be extremely difficult for each one of those SMEs, each one of those corporate bodies to begin to scale up the salaries from 494. If you're saying that that's the living wage, whether it's living wage or minimum wage, the bottom line is that 80% of debts from other previous regimes, federal, state, have all been accumulated over the years. So even the differentials today of what the removal of subsidy, after government removed subsidy, FAC allocations was somewhere around, before government removed subsidy, there was about 750 billion to share. Now, government has 1.3, 1.4 trillion to share, but half of those monies are going back as withdrawals, as debt repayments, at debt, and all those kind of stuff have lowered the value of what these governments can pay. So these state governments, all of them, are going to find it difficult because as we speak, so many of them spend their salaries on their allocations on salaries. We can only appeal that more integral things should be done to generate IGR. Get Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi State to form a fertilizer company. There's everything you need for a fertilizer company in that region. Get another one to set up. There are some tomato company. Oyo, Ogun, and Ondo should set up a big cocoa company so that they can get chocolates done in Nigeria, processed from scratch to finish, and export them. Because our GDP is far too low. There's just no way we can survive with the kind of GDP we have, with our forex and with the kind of overloads we have.
Right, let me hold your thoughts for now. Let's quickly go to Mr. Muda Yusuf. Now, let's get your perspective on the likely implications this increase would have on the economy. Talk to us on this, particularly as it concerns a possibility of inflation and, of course, economic instability.
Doctor, let's crunch the numbers. If you are to pay even 200,000 or 150,000, what impact would that have on our finances, on the nation's finances, and even the finances of the states?
Well, I may not be able to give you the exact numbers, but I can tell you straight away that will wipe out the totality of the resources of particularly the sub-nations. That is one. Secondly, it's going to have a very significant impact on inflation. If we are talking about this kind of numbers, it's going to have a significant impact on inflation. Because, and once you have that, be back to square one. Because the purchasing power will now become weaker, and you come back again to agitate for more wages. Thirdly, there's a psychological pricing component of it. Once the average market men or women hear that it's hitting headlines that wages have increased, certainly they will increase their prices. Forget about the economics of it. Psychologically, they believe that people now have more money and therefore prices have to go up and they need their own share of that. Thirdly, when we are talking about this minimum wage, it's not just about the minimum wage. That's what you call the consequential adjustment.
Yes.
Once you have this floor, you have to adjust all other salaries, which are even bigger, up to the level of even permanent secretary.
Yes.
That is multiples of what we are talking about. We are talking about trillions of naira. So these things are simply not realistic. So we have to go back to the drawing board. And I must come back to the point that Biko made. We need to do things according to law. Nobody is above the law, not even the labor unions. I mean, how can you have the audacity, because you are talking of minimum wage, to go and switch off the national grid? That's a national security issue. Just because of minimum wage, then you are shutting down the ports, you are shutting down the airports.
It's unheard of.
I think that is carrying it too far. And I think people need to be told that we are a nation governed by law.
Yeah.
Even as trade unions, you are not above the law. PKO quoted a portion of the law. And we need to make sure that people respect the law. So that, for me, I think is extremely, very, very important.
Right. Point
and we are talking about a country. Yes.
Right. Now, so to give your final thoughts on this now, how do you think both sides can align to the expectations and perhaps avoid deadlock, if at all they will reconvene for another meeting?
No, first, the negotiation has to continue more realistically. We have to put realistic options on the table. Secondly, there is a discussion around the cost of living issues. And luckily, there is a proposal being prepared for the executive order by the president. It's a draft presidential executive order on inflation reduction and price stability. It has a lot of very interesting provisions, concessions from the fiscal policy side on how to bring down the cost of living, the cost of food, the cost of raw materials, the cost of machinery for manufacturing, the cost of even things that have to do with vehicles, and even a window to import paddy rice for 6 months to be able to increase the level of rice production and rice milling. These are part of the things that are in the works. So when we are having this kind of conversation, labor should also be discussing these kind of issues so that you have something that benefits everybody, that is more inclusive, that is not just narrowed down to people who are just taking salaries, something that involves everybody so that they can get the buy-in of all the citizens. These things are already in the works. So we need to see the government to see this kind of things through, so that the cost of living can come down. I think these are the more critical things.
Right. Well said. Thank you so much, Mr. Muda Yusuf, for your perspective. Let me quickly get the thoughts of Mr. Danladi Bako. Final thoughts on the lessons you think that can be learned from this impasse and for future wage negotiations. What can you tell us? Lessons that can be learned from it?
Yeah, well, the bottom line remains that...
Well, let me say something. As a practicing journalist, you are very much on top of the situation when General Babangida punished NEPA staff for
shutting down the national grid,
industrial action, despite being an essential service. Can you try and to bring us up to speed with what happened at that time? And
you know, as I've said,
about what they
BKO, thank you very much. As I said several times in the last 5 years. We're lucky democracy is in place. Some of the things that we do today, a regime that is not a democratic civilian regime will not tolerate them. Even in certain regimes where they are civilian but they are dictatorial, they would look for a way to punish these people. And those days, it was very clear. The government was very clear in its mind that national security, there are issues that involve national. You cannot shut down a national grid. Indeed, at one point, if you stop other people from going to work, that's also an offense, because you're denying them their right. Every civil servant that goes to work has a right to appear. You can't get a band of members of union that stop me from entering my office and I don't take them to court, or I don't get another set of 10 people to carry sticks and knives and chase them out of the place. Labor cannot force people not to do their duties. Labor should not force people to obey. It's an optional thing. It's your right. You cannot force people to follow your own line. They might be members of the union, but they might not like that line of action you're taking. So they have to expand. And quite clearly, as you rightly observed, the issue of shutting off national grid. In fact, I knew from yesterday about this time that they were going to shut the national grid down. I was saying to myself, what happened? Can these guys, way back, about 8-10 of them would have been arrested by midnight. Way back. And nobody would do anything about it. And the people that even arrested the NEPA guys, they're still around till today. They're alive and they're fine. And they'll be smiling and say, what kind of things does democracy bring to us? In the name of democracy, in the name of ILO, in the name of all these things, you prosecute all sorts of criminality. Shutting down a national grid is criminal because you're denying us of our rights to have electricity.
Right, and that's where
Let's leave it at that. But
yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, BKO. Thank you, everybody else.
Mr. Dan Ladit-Bako, for your insights. And of course, I'd like to thank CEO of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, Muda Yusuf, all joining us all the way via Zoom. Thank you so much for your perspectives. Well, before we go, let's say happy birthday to the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Kemi Nana Nanda, who clocks a year today. And we wish her the best of years ahead and more strength and wisdom to continue the good work at the immigration. EKO, would you like to share a few birthday wishes?
I say hearty congratulations to her. And this must be a good time for her too, because at the immigration, so many good things are happening under her watch and under the leadership of the Minister of Interior, Jojo. So congratulations, Madam. We wish you Godspeed.
Right. That's where we have to wrap today's episode of the program, Journalist Hangout. As usual, I will thank my colleagues, my senior colleague in the studio, Mujid Jamil, and of course, EKO Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your thoughts on the program. Well, that's where we have to wrap today's episode of the show. You can watch a repeat broadcast of it tonight at 11. Join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Mapariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
That's it. The regular football season is over. What? Yes, it's over. No! Oh, no. But not for us here at Supersport. We've got your favorite players. Only they won't be playing for your favorite clubs. That's because they'll be playing for their countries in Euro 2024, exclusively on Supersport. Yeah! Whoopsie! Sorry, that's actually a pretty big deal. Catch all 51 games of Euro 2024 only on Supersport. Stay connected to DSTV to watch all the action on Supersport.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Tired of pans that scratch and stick? Or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen and are of little to no use? Cooking used to be fun, but now it just feels like a chore. Introducing ShopEx Gotham Hammered Copper Collection, the perfect cookware to upgrade your cooking experience. The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection features a super durable ultra non-stick surface. Eggs stick to other pans, but with the Hammered Copper Collection, they slide right out. Incredible! Plus, the Cool Touch solid cast handle makes it safe and easy to cook even the hottest dishes. It's oven safe up to 500 degrees, so bake this beautiful chicken stew pizza and serve it straight from the pan. Or this tasty delicious cake that will have your whole family asking for more. Any recipe can be made in these pans, and then it wipes clean with ease, so cleanup is a breeze. Plus, use your hammered copper pan to make homemade pancakes that flips and slips right out. Or make mouth-watering jollof rice or even floppy pounder with ease, because nothing sticks.
I needed a cookware to keep up with me. The Gotham Hammered Collection has been a game changer. No more burnt meals or hours spent scrubbing pots.
The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection is now available in Nigeria exclusively from ShopEx TV. You could be paying over $490,000 for a collection of pans that are not even non-stick. Call the number on your screen now and get it for just 364,950 naira. This incredible ShopEx offer includes one 8.5 inches fry pan, one 10.25 inches fry pan, one 1.4 liters saucepan, one 2.4 liters saucepan, one 4.7 liters stock pot, one stainless steel steamer, 4 tempered glass lids. But wait! If you order now, we will upgrade you to the Premier Kitchen Collection at no extra charge and also include one cookie sheet, one round baking pan, one square baking pan, one loaf pan and muffin pan, and one all-in-one food processor that blends, grinds, chops, dices, pounds yam and makes smoothies in seconds. All for just 364,950 naira only. And that's not all. You can get the ShopEx Premier Kitchen Collection in 2 easy payments of 182,475 naira. Place your order now and we will deliver the entire collection for free anywhere you are in Nigeria. But hurry! This exclusive ShopEx TV offer is for a limited time only, so call now while stocks last. The following was a paid presentation from ShopEx TV.
Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect our environment, seek solutions to put us on track to secure and restore a cleaner and greener world for generations to come.
Stay ahead with the biggest news stories. Go beyond the news headlines. Experience impactful investigations. Enjoy resourceful news coverage in real time. TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. Live every day on this channel. TVC News. First with breaking news.
Hello everyone, you're watching Beyond 100 Days with Nifemi Oguntoye. We woke up this morning with a chant of solidarity forever across the country. You can join the conversation right now on X using the hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG. The federal government is currently in a meeting with organized labor. The latest meeting is another of government's effort to nip the ongoing nationwide strike declared by organized labor in the board. The meeting, which was scheduled for 1 p.m., didn't start on time It's also not open to the media, as our crew was sent back by security agents in the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. But we're live around Nigeria, covering all angles of the nationwide strike. The federal government has invited organized labor to the negotiation table, saying that strike isn't in the nation's interest. The meeting, we understand, is to resolve issues in contention. Earlier today, the Nigeria Labour Congress withdrew services in all federal government parastatals to push for a new national minimum wage for workers. The labor unions on Sunday insisted on going ahead with the strike despite all efforts by government to draw them back to the negotiation table, including a meeting with the leadership of the National Assembly.
Despite the intervention of the National Assembly leadership, the organized labor begins a nationwide strike. The industrial action starts in Abuja. Petrol stations are still selling fuel. Other parts are ghost town. Lawyers are stranded as judiciary workers shut down the Court of Appeal in Abuja.
We, at this chapter, we are not take anything less than to comply fully with what is going on.
Staff at the National Assembly were also left stranded as they were denied access to the complex.
Well, if you look at the country generally, everything is on the high side. Most especially the common man. We are not saying federal government must pay, but they should do something reasonably that we can consider.
In Lagos, all operations at the local airport have been cancelled. These are images from the Murtala Muhammed International Airport.
So I have been here since 5:30 a.m. I was supposed to board United Nigeria. Unfortunately, the airports have been grounded by NLC. Obviously, the strike has commenced here at the airports.
In Delta, there is strict compliance to the strike in Asaba, the state capital, as the Unity Secondary School is under lock and key. Students who are supposed to begin their external examination are now returning to their homes as no teacher is in the premises.
And Chairman of Senate Committee on Finance, Mohammed Musa, has pleaded with the leadership of organized labor to call off the ongoing strike and embrace dialogue in the interest of all Nigerians. Senator Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District, made the appeal in an open letter titled Appeal to the NLC and TUC on the declaration of strike. The lawmaker believes that through constructive dialogue, the issue can be addressed and resolved. In Ogun State, it was a partial compliance. And we're following through across the country to see how labor members, particularly civil servants, are adjusting to the declaration of strike by both NLC and TUC. In Enugu State, some banks and filling stations have declined to join the nationwide strike as well. Places visited at banks operating skeletal services and filling stations dispensing products to customers.
Matter of fact, the federal government is doing well. Labor is also doing well. The thing is that things are generally hard. And then, like the way things increased, things did not increase by 100%. Electricity they are talking about increased from 60 or 66 to 200. Is it 100%? Okay. Fuel from 200 or less than 200 to 700. We are buying 800, 850 here in Enugu. Is it 100%?
Let's get the conversation started. Lawyer and public affairs analyst Daniel Boala joins me for more on this development. Mr. Boala, thank you for joining us on the program. President Tinubu's second year has gone with what seems a major wage dispute between federal government and organized labor. Seems a relatively successful first day of the strike with what we've covered across the state. Do you think the Nigerian people want this strike more than those who support this government are willing to admit?
No, it is actually debatable because the workforce of Nigeria, whether you're looking at it from the public sector or private sector, probably is less than 20% of the representation of the entirety of the Nigerian vibrant population, either those who are in the informal private sector or those who are in their own personal endeavor and pursuit, unemployed, underemployed, and all of that. But the strike, as it is reported in various media, appears to be successful, except that I personally think that the strike is not in the interest of even the Nigerian Labour Congress and other trade unions in the first place. The reason is because the essence of strike is to address a problem. And when you go on strike, and then your own members become the victim of the strike, then it's a problem. For example, in the UK, there are procedures before you go on strike. The trade union, first of all, what they will do is, and it's the rules, before you embark on strike, you must do a vote, and you must have majority of your members agree to the fact that you need to go on a strike. Majority of the members there is 50%, not less than 50% of the total members of that labor union, registered members. And then when you cast the vote, you must have 40% of the 50, meaning 90% of the people have to agree that you want to go on strike. When they do agree, then you begin the commencement of strike notification and negotiation, which by their procedure will last for 6 months, because strike is not a joke. Now, even when eventually they embark on strike, they have what they call strike pay. That means every member of the labor union that agrees to the strike is entitled to every day of the strike a payment of not less than £50, in some cases £70. You see, so in organized countries, even when they go on strike, they go